Go. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. You're sticking around on TheNest podcast, episode number 5. Number 5. We're getting this boat moving now.
Hell yeah.
The ship has sailed. And now?
We taking over. Man, that analogy of a ship though is pretty badass because right now the BH is underwater. It's raining hard, man.
You're sticking around on KBBC, The Echo. Some bullshit like that, you know?
Yeah, man. I think that we should start off by talking about the other side to our podcast, how we're not just going to be focusing on politics, but...
Yeah, man. For sure.
We're including everybody on the BH. Anybody who wants to come tell the story on the podcast, the doors are open. Come on, the mics are here.
The doors are open, guys. Make sure you guys come through. Just hit me up.
Don't be scared, man.
Don't be scared. If you got a talent, if you got a secret ability that you haven't shown the world, this is the platform for doing that.
Exactly. Nobody else is doing this in the BH. Come support. We'll support you. Unity, man. Unity
inside the BH.
God bless.
Yeah, when I first started the podcast, I wasn't thinking it was going to just be like political, you know? This wasn't supposed to be a political platform, and it isn't. It just, the conversations that we've had so far, they just gravitate towards a political sphere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but maybe because we're both political science majors. And
yeah.
I'm really into that whole thing. I'm not sure if you also invest your time into that too.
Yeah, man. On YouTube, all I watch is the Ben Shapiro show, Jordan Peterson, you know, when he shuts students down, you know?
No, he doesn't shut people down. That's Ben Shapiro.
Oh, Ben Shapiro. Jordan Peterson, though, when people try to, like, go against what he's saying,
yeah,
and he'll be like, he'll hit him with them facts, you know?
Yeah.
I like
those videos are addicting, man.
I like that. I don't know why. What is it about those videos?
I don't know. It's just
the fact that, like, knowledge is able to really change another person's perspective, or just the way that they say it?
I think it's like truth, you know, surfacing, coming to the light, you know? When you're in a room crowded with 450 people, like an average lecture hall in the United States, in a university, a large university, I mean, most of the people in there don't know what the fuck's going on. And when you hear someone come with facts, hard truths, and shut down a person that thinks they know it all, I mean, it's just, how's that not going to go viral, you know?
Yeah, the thing is that the people that show up to these events, they're loaded with facts that they're going to try to challenge the speaker and try to shut them down. But the fact that the speaker is just so well-rounded in every topic, and they're still able to shut every individual with their whatever idea they may bring up, they're able to prove them with a fact or with a research paper that supports the fact. That just astonishes me, man.
You know what's the craziest part of all this? Like when they cite a book or like they cite an author, like just off the top of the dome. Like, you know what I mean?
A lot of people are able to do that, though.
It's crazy.
Joe Rogan, he does that so much. You know, it's not just scholars. Like, anybody could devote themselves to reading, or it doesn't have to be books, like articles or research papers.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro, he cites a lot of research papers.
Man, that whole thing, when I realized that people really invest their time in books and, like, reading, like, I was like, I gotta start reading, you know? I don't really read a lot. And I mean, people have advantages over me because they read. So I'm trying to get into like reading books and stuff.
Do you think that people are truly able to read a book a day?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there's some people out there that could just.
I've seen like strategy videos on YouTube that teach you how to do this, but I don't know. I feel that's hard, man.
There's some people that could read faster than they could talk.
Or a book a week. I think it's a book a week.
Book a week.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. A book a day is like you're devoting your whole day to the book. No, a book a week. That's the statement.
Yeah, book a day. I'm like, fuck. But I mean, there's probably someone out there, you know.
A lot of people.
Like I was telling you, John Stuart Mill. Like at the age of 8, he already started doing algebra and like complex mathematics at the age of 14.
Yeah.
Like there's some people out there that they'll surprise you, man.
I never asked you, man, but when you went to go see the presentation and Ben Shapiro showed up, were there people there trying to tackle him or?
No, you know the thing was that almost everyone in the audience were supporters. I
really?
mean, I stuck out like a thorn, man. Like everyone there was white. I was the only guy there that had some color in their skin, and that kind of shocked me because I was like, are people really this like ignorant towards people like Jordan Peterson that's out there putting out good work? You know, like I was the only guy there with color. Some white guy, he started talking to me. He's like, man, I'm surprised that you're here. He's like, I wouldn't have expected someone from your group coming out here. Like, a lot of you guys are very hard leftists, you know?
Yeah. And how'd you take that when he told you that?
Man, I was just like, the thing is that I used to be on the left because I didn't understand, you know? But as I started investing my time into politics and going to classes, I started realizing that there's two sides to every story. And in order to obtain an objective truth, you need to listen to both sides. So that's what I told him. And he was like, you know what? Just from hearing that statement, I could tell that you're not an ignorant person, you know? That you're not the typical person on the left.
Yeah, man, that's good though. The one thing that I don't like about politics though, like I love studying it, I love learning about it, I love hearing different perspectives, but the one thing that I dislike is the fact that you have to be precise in what you say. Because if what you say is interpreted in a certain manner, they could easily tear you down fast. Yeah. But you really have to formulate your points clearly with facts, and you have to be ready for the rebuttal, you know? You always have to be ready.
Someone suggested to me that if we're going to be talking about gender wage gap and so forth, that we should at least present some statistics. The thing I would say about that is the reason I haven't mentioned statistics before in the past was because when I was first starting the podcast, I didn't know what I was going to talk about when I hit the record button, you know? I just came in, I'm like, I'm going to hit record,
We never do.
And we don't.
We never do. I mean, everything's on the spot, basically.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, so we don't come prepared with statistics, we don't come prepared with citations or sources or nothing like that.
But that doesn't mean we're not educated, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
We're learning about this on a day-to-day basis in college or online. Like, the stuff we're saying is not just out of our ass.
Yeah.
Like, we've read it somewhere or heard it by an intellectual, you know?
Yeah, but, I mean, I think that maybe we should do that. Especially if we're going to be, like, debating someone else soon, or, like, if we're going to be talking about politics with someone else soon, I think we should come prepared with some statistics or some sources or something like that. But for the most part, when we record podcasts, we're not thinking about, like, a certain topic that we're going to talk about. We just kind of just start speaking when I hit the record button, you know?
Yeah. We're reflecting our views, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have facts to support or inform those who aren't aware of our views, you know?
Yeah.
So it would just make sense that we should include evidence or facts in our statements.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get just a source or a statistic just Googling, you know? That's why when you're doing a report or you're doing a paper, they usually tell you, the professors tell you that it's better if you just look through the academic journals that are available at the UC campuses, you know?
Yeah.
Through the UCE, or what's it called, UC Links?
I believe so. Every
UC
school
Links
has its own thing, you know,
yeah.
their own archives or whatever. But that just goes back to what we were speaking of before, that when you're speaking in political terms, you really have to consider what you're saying and be sure that the facts you're presenting are factual, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to say something and then support it with something you think is a fact that could then be proven wrong, and that just tears down your credibility.
Yeah.
So you always have to be ready, and no matter what, evidence is going to support you if it's factual.
Yeah, but especially when we're talking about something it's very controversial or something it might ring true to somebody, you know, like the gender wage gap. If, for example, a female is listening to our conversation and we're talking about how there is no injustice between males and females in terms of their wages, they might feel like that we're saying that the experiences that they're going through are not true, when maybe they might actually be getting paid less than a man.
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know, something of that matter. But for the most part, like the gender wage gap thing, there's already been a lot of YouTube videos out on that. People could look it up. You could look up gender wage gap disproven or something like that, and you'll get a video. I think Ben Shapiro has talked about it. Steven Crowder, Joe Rogan's talked about it. Jordan Peterson's talked about it. I mean, it's a pretty well-known fact that the gender wage gap is not true. Like, there's no systematic discrimination against women in terms of their wages. They get paid the same if they work the same occupation as a man, the same hours as a man, and doesn't have maternal leave. And it depends too, because there's a lot of factors and variables that goes into determining a person's wage. You know, what if a guy is in fact actually more competent than a woman in a job? I mean, it's hard to say. Like, what if, for example, that situation, a man is doing better in that job than a woman is, and you pay him more because of this? How are you going to explain to everybody else that he is, in fact, doing a better job than the woman is, you know?
Like you said, I feel that there's so many factors that have to contribute to the overall gender wage gap. Like, for example, location. Where are we speaking in terms of states or in terms of just in general?
Nationwide.
Nationwide, it's the same results?
Yeah. So nationwide, if you look at the statistics that, for example, in my cultural anthropology class, they were showing us a statistic that showed that they pay women less than men. And I questioned the professor. I said, is that statistic reflective of like the same job occupations, the same hours worked? Like, does it take into consideration that some of those women maybe had to leave to, bear a child and raise it for like a couple months? You know, all those factors, all those variables, they should be considered when you're talking about wages, you know?
I didn't know that maternal leave is considered a handicap. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah, so, it's I don't really know too much about how maternal leave works, because I mean I've never experienced, you know, like someone going away for like maternal leave. I haven't had a girlfriend or a wife or anything for that kind of shit to happen. But I mean, it makes more sense that when you look at it like this, like the fact that women do tend to choose specific jobs over other certain jobs. Like, you don't see a woman that's a construction worker. You mostly see men, you know?
Usually associated with the gender wage gap, excuse me, is the male privilege idea as well.
Yeah.
So that men have this privilege that's been embedded in society through history, that men are superior to women in all fields, which is not the case now.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, such as Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder is the one that I got it from. He said that right now it's the best time to be a woman in world history. Women hold the power more than any other gender or any other human. Women are the ones in power, because all these movements that they're fighting for, nobody could go against them, or they're seen as like radicals, you know? So women, anything they push for, more than likely in 2019, they're going to get it.
Yeah, man. Historically speaking, like you said, this has never been a time better to be a woman, you know?
It's the best time to be a woman in history.
I mean, you consider the history of the United States. Some women were burned alive just because they were considered a witch.
Yeah.
It's like, we went through so much in the past, and the feminists almost make it seem as though this is the worst time in history to be a woman, because the way they push their agendas, the way they push their goals and their ideas onto other people, it's like it's almost like you said, radical.
Like, unfortunately, we do have a president who women don't really side with, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that women have accomplished so much up until now.
Yeah.
Or it shouldn't take away from the fact that they're still able to accomplish so much more. Just because of the fact that we do have Donald Trump as a president should not entail that women are being held back in any manner.
Yeah.
Especially not in the wage gap, you know?
Yeah.
So have you heard people still supporting that notion that the wage gap exists today?
Well, like I said, there was this one time, I'm not sure if I told you the story, but I was in class, and it was a large lecture hall filled with 450 students, and they were showing the statistic to 450 plus students, you know? And I couldn't hold myself responsible for letting that happen, you know? Because, I mean, with all these resources out there now, with all these videos that debunk this thing, it's almost like, and the thing is that they're teaching all these kids this almost a lie, right? And everyone in the room was gonna walk out of there influenced by what the lecturer was saying, and probably spread this word out even more to other people. And, you know, like, how can you live in a world where a professor's preaching something that's not factually, that's something that's not based on facts?
or that pushes a certain ideology over another.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they were getting into in the Joe Rogan podcast when they were speaking to the people who work at Twitter, which the CEO Jack Dorsey and then the
I don't know her name. Yeah, she has a hard
public
name.
relations something. And they were what's his name? The one that was arguing against them.
I have no idea, man. Forgot his name.
Well, anyways, one of the most important claims I feel that he made was that Twitter is a very, very, very powerful platform, and that it's so powerful that it could sway an election, it could sway ideologies.
Yeah.
So the fact that Twitter sets its regulations to support a more left ideology is could really be detrimental to overall American democracy. Because what about those conservative voices that are not being heard, that are being blocked? It's unfair, you know?
Yeah.
So we've talked about this before, that college professors tend to side with more left ideologies.
I think Steven Crowder presented a piece of evidence that showed a statistic that showed that over 93% of all professors at universities across the nation are on the left. 93%.
That just shows it in our education. You go to college, the education is pumping these leftist ideas into our minds on a day-to-day basis. You go on social media, Twitter tends to remove or prohibit any conservative ideas or right-leaning ideas to show up on your feed. So if you're just consuming leftist media after being in a leftist field lecture hall, that just, it's kind of unfair.
And there was this interesting thing that the journalist, I forgot his name, he was saying that someone was threatening that kid that was wearing the MAGA hat. Remember the guy that was standing in front of the Native American?
Oh, yeah.
So he was saying that he was getting a lot of negative comments because of him basically just standing there, right? And someone was saying they should throw him into a wood chipper, basically inciting violence against him. And that person's still out there tweeting, They didn't do nothing to him.
A lot of celebrities were targeting this kid. And it's just so contradictory.
I really didn't see what was wrong with that video. If anything, he held his composure the best he could. What was he, 16?
Yeah, but what's crazy is that before the whole news story was brought out of what actually happened, they were promoting the image saying that the MAGA kid was being rude to the Native American, which was not the case. But the fact that they were setting up that news story to already push down on the right or whatever, it's just
the headlines, man. The headlines.
Nobody knew what the fuck had happened, but they were already assuming based on what the picture portrayed that.
When I saw the picture, I was like, what the fuck? What's going on? Yeah.
Honestly, me too. It seemed as if the MAGA kid was targeting or talking shit to the Native American.
Because the picture that I saw was him smiling at the Native American man while the Native American man is confronting him or something.
It's the grin.
Yeah, it kind of gave him a smirky kind of
evil
look. Yeah, kind of like a I'm above you kind of look, But when you saw the full video, you saw that the Native American guy went up to the kid.
Yeah.
And basically they were just outside. I don't know if they were holding a rally or something like that. But he came up to the kid and started banging a drum in front of his face, And the kid's 16. The kid's 16, man. When I was 16 years old, I was entirely different, man. I don't even know how he held his shit together that well. Man, I would have been cracking the fuck up. And if I was a white person, man, I would have been in some shit. Just like that kid, you gotta consider what you were like when you were 16. Yeah, and you gotta put yourself in his shoes. And now you gotta also put yourself in the situation that he was in, where he was surrounded by all his friends, all the people he knew from school, basically, all his homies, right? And they were all rallying together, pumping up the adrenaline, pumping out the blood, and it's then this guy comes up to you, banging a drum in front of your face. The fact that he held his composure that well, that's pretty impressive because I would have lost my shit as a 16-year-old.
Yeah, man, but these kids are educated as well. Yeah. Us, when we were 16, you wouldn't find us protesting outside of City Hall because we weren't that involved in politics.
But were they protesting, man? It looked like they just wanted to have a good time there.
This occurred in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
There's protests going on all the time or meetings going on all the time. So these kids, the fact that they showed up to whatever this was, just shows that they're involved politically. So I'm pretty sure they knew how to deal with this situation, especially under the circumstances that they're white and they support Donald Trump. So, yeah, I feel that they were aware that if they would have done something out of basically violent, it would have blew up in their face and their whole lives would have been
Let's put up the picture, man. I forgot to.
I mean, already they didn't do anything bad and people were tormenting them. Imagine if they would have actually reacted to the Native American. That would have been bad news.
That would have been some bad shit, man. I forgot to connect my phone to the internet.
Oh.
Whatever. But yeah, the picture is like basically him just grinning. I'll probably just put it up when I edit it. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that he held his composure and like, it's just crazy, you know?
But we live in a world of technology, and the fact that that event is represented by that one picture, like that's the picture that represents what happened, it's just, why? You know? I'm pretty sure other pictures were taken, but the fact that he held that little evil grin, that smirk in his face, it seems like he's taunting the Native American.
I mean, what would you do? I mean, you're in that situation, what are you going to do? Like, walk away? Or no matter how you framed it, it was going to look bad.
Exactly, but like right now, what I would have done with the knowledge I possess is just basically what he did. Just stand there and, you know, I probably would have walked away.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have just stood there too. I mean, I wouldn't know I wouldn't tell him to get the fuck out of my face. I wouldn't.
You could though.
You could, but just imagine he didn't say that, but he just stood there. Now imagine he had said that. Like, I mean, it's not that impossible that could have happened because I mean, like I said, he's 16, man.
But he did keep his composure throughout the whole.
Yeah, man, he held his shit together.
I mean, shouts out, man. Got shouts out for not reacting.
Yeah, man, dude, man.
That would have been fucked up.
Yeah. But
I mean, they were targeting him and all his homies.
Yeah.
Like, people were leaking their addresses out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Twitter wasn't doing anything to remove these people or ban these tweets. Like, this was just going on, and that's very dangerous, man. Your information leaked on the internet like that?
Yeah. I think I'm just going to edit the video into this. So I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it on. So they're probably just like watching it right there already. So it's going to be like an 18-minute long video. I mean, not 18 minutes. It's going to be it's going to be at 18. But yeah, it's the guys from the Joe Rogan podcast that were on yesterday. One of the guys was saying that one of the guys that was tweeting out, "Oh, we should put that kid in a wood chipper." It's like, how is that not violating Twitter's policies, you know, or Twitter's rules?
Conservative media outlets saying, "Wow, it's screenshotted, it's being shared." I mean, you had a Disney producer saying a picture of a wood chipper with a body being thrown in it, saying that's what he wanted to happen. You know, so I do know that some of these accounts got locked.
A Disney producer was doing that?
I'll clarify. Fact check me on that. But that's basically the conversation that was had. There's a guy at Disney he posted a picture from Fargo of someone being tossed in a wood chipper, and he says, "I want all these MAGA kids, you know, done like this." You had another guy who specifically said, "Lock them in the school, burn it down." Said a bunch of disparaging things, and then said, "If you see them, fire on them."
That were connected to him, like.
I think that I'm not sure about that, Joe. I think that it was more that we found him to be engaging in coordinated behavior and inciting people to attack Leslie Jones.
Now, with a case like him, no, I'm just going to be honest. When I'm listening to those or listening to you read those tweets out, they don't sound that bad, and they certainly don't sound as bad as calling for the death of a child who's wearing a MAGA hat, throw him into a wood chipper. The fact that guy's still out there tweeting, and yet Milo's not. Milo's initial...
Yeah, and the main argument that they were trying to get at was that Twitter it holds a bias towards leftist ideologies.
It does.
So any leftist personality or any leftist related tweet is gonna be allowed, you know?
Yeah.
But anything relating to conservative or any conservative replying to a leftist individual, it's seen as hate speech or something along those matters, where they try to shut down that person's right to deliberation, the conservative, you know?
Yeah.
And like I was saying, and even I've been learning this in my democracy class, how when it comes to social media, people on the left tend to just follow others who are on the left. So,
yeah.
And that those on the right, it's mixed, you know?
Yeah.
They don't just follow people on the right, they also consider the people on the left.
There's a bandwagon effect that's definitely going on. Like, when the whole midterm elections was going on and people were telling others to vote, like, it was just a big mess, in my opinion, because a lot of people that were voting don't understand politics, and some of them weren't even in a university or a college. They were just working. And the way they're able to obtain their information on who to vote is they usually have a friend or a family member that's in college that tells them, oh, vote yes on this and vote no on this and this and that. But like, I think it's very crucial that you do your own investigation, that you do your own, that you look into what you're actually voting for. You have to know the propositions. You have to know them so that you could vote for them.
Yeah, man, but the counter argument for that is that a lot of people will tell you that we don't have the time to invest into politics or the time to search up what each individual politician stands for and their stance on different propositions. So people are always on their phones. They're always on Twitter or Facebook, especially Facebook for our community group. And if their feeds are just being pumped with leftist posts and things supporting the left and fuck the right, I mean, their ideologies are going to be comprised just of leftist ideas. Exactly. They're not going to have that exposure to the other side, which they may even side with which may fit their personal needs more, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote an essay, and that was one of the things that I felt should be pushed is we should not try to impose right views on our community, but at least inform them and make them aware that these views are out there.
That's kind of why I started this podcast. There
There
was a lack of information. You know, you'd scroll down your feed and you'd see people posting stuff that's entirely left ideology, you know? And it's like some of the stuff that they're putting out there is actually wrong, like the gender wage gap, or like the problems with that come with taxing too heavy on people in the 1%. Because the way it works is, and I'm studying this for my class right now in comparative politics, is if you tax the 1% too much, they won't have enough money to invest and expand their capital. And that leads to economic growth in the nation. So it's important that the 1%ers keep their money as much as possible so they could keep pushing for all these ventures and so they could grow the economy. That's the way it works.
The thing is that these 1%ers, speaking from the standpoint of over $1 million income, like corporations and shit, they have a lot of money. And already they have a lot of investments.
Well, the thing is that they don't just keep that money. They have to reinvest it. That's how they stay rich.
It's like that. Did you hear that shit that Amazon got $11 billion back, tax-free? $11 billion? Like, where'd that money go?
I mean, but how are they going to use the money? It's not like they're just going to be buying yachts. Maybe they could buy a yacht. I mean, I'd definitely do that. But that money has to be reinvested to grow Amazon.
It has to be, but
that's the way it works.
What many people would argue is, what about the lower income communities that are being taxed and left with less than
it's because it's that
survival.
That perspective is very surface level. It's very, very surface level. Like that perspective that, oh, that person has way too much money. They should bring it back here. Like that's how it looks like on the surface. Beneath the surface, you have to understand taxes and regulations and how that affects big businesses and how that affects the economy in the long run. All those things are below the surface.
Do you believe that we should have a minimum wage in place or no?
Well, I definitely heard Peter Schiff proposing some compelling arguments against the minimum wage, like the fact that this would allow for entry-level jobs to be more abundant instead of, because you know when you apply for a job now, you have to have 6 years of experience with this, or you have to have experience with this, and basically that's caused by a minimum wage. I forgot exactly the details on that whole podcast. It's a very old one, by the way. And but yeah, do you have anything to say again about that? Or
the thing is that for me, it all points towards education.
Right.
The fact that people don't possess the skills to acquire higher paying jobs, I mean, it just comes down to their education, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that change starts there. Like, you really have to become educated, not just for skills for yourself, but for your country, you know? Like, become aware of what's going on around you, and like that you'll start feeling the benefits from it, you know?
Yeah. Like my little brother was asking me, he's like, if you worked at a warehouse and it was, like you said, the hardest job you've ever had, how come they paid you just minimum wage? And I told him there's a very simple answer to that. And a lot of people don't know this. Then that's the reason why they push for the minimum wage to go up. Because they're like, I'm getting worked at that warehouse, you know? I'm basically killing myself out there. And they're just paying me bare minimum. They should raise their wages. The argument against that is there's someone out there that is willing to do that job, that exact job for that pay. So if you're not willing to do that, it's better that you get fired for the company. It's better that they fire you and get someone that is willing to do that job for you at that same rate,
That's
that same
the main
wage.
reason. I mean, that's the main argument towards the hatred or basically the disliking of immigrants. The fact that they will accept these jobs and that they will. I mean, the fact that most of them, the majority of immigrants are not educated, they'll just keep working there and accept the minimum wage, you know?
Yeah, that's what they mean by they're taking our jobs. It's like they're taking the jobs that people aren't willing to do in the United States for that wage. I mean, I don't think that's true entirely, because anyone could work at a warehouse if you want to, if you really want to. You know, we're not taking your jobs, you know?
Yeah,
anyone
like,
could do that warehouse labor.
What do you mean jobs? Like, what are you referring to? You know what?
Like
jobs?
warehouse jobs. Yeah, the lowest paying jobs. But yeah, like I was saying, there's someone out there that'd be willing to do that job for minimum wage, you know?
Always, man.
There's always going to be that. And raising the minimum wage is just going to raise prices all around you, and it's going to lead to people getting fired. Because these companies are going to have to retain their capital somehow, so they're going to have to let go of the people that are in the entry-level position or that just barely walked in.
Yeah. Man, going back to what we were talking about Twitter and its regulations and this push of leftist ideals, I feel that here in Boyle Heights, we're also trying to adopt a more... I mean, here in Boyle Heights, we are feeling the effects of these leftist ideologies.
Did you hear about the gender-neutral restroom that they put in Roosevelt High School?
Man, I wish you could pull up that article, because there were some statements towards the bottom of students that go to Roosevelt, and they were saying how this is such a milestone for our community. It shows that we're we're moving towards the future, you know?
Yeah.
But then this whole notion of moving towards the future doesn't come into play when we're considering gentrification and the way people feel towards that. Like, again, most left ideologies kind of contradict each other.
Yeah,
that's kind of what bothers me.
It's the bandwagon effect that causes mass confusion. Like, people just join the team, but they don't really understand what they're joining, you know?
Exactly. If you're against gentrification and you're saying that we should remain the same, but then you're pushing towards gender-neutral restrooms in our schools, what the fuck do you mean?
The better example I used was the one I used last time was if you're against gentrification, then you're basically in favor of redlining. So, I mean, both ways in the people's opinion, they're getting discriminated. So, because gentrification, what that pretty much causes is diversity, and it causes homogeny to end in a community. Redlining is the entire opposite. Redlining is they're pushing certain racial groups, certain groups of minorities into single race communities, single group communities, right? Yeah. And so gentrification is the exact opposite of that, where you're contributing a diverse crowd into a community.
For a counter to that argument, I feel would be that yes, gentrification brings diversity, but only for a certain period of time, because I feel that at some point the communities become consumed by those other people moving in.
What about New York?
What do you mean New York?
Like Manhattan. That's a place that once went through gentrification because it was entirely a certain group. I'm not sure if it was Irish, but it had to be some kind of European, like.
Yeah, it was
group.
Irish, Irishmen, Jews,
German, but now if you go to Manhattan, it's like it's entirely diverse. So it's like, I mean, maybe
that diversity occurred, but a lot of those big communities that were there are not there anymore. So, do you feel that maybe as Boyle Heights becomes more gentrified, there will be less Mexicans here?
Yeah, man. That's why they're protesting against it, because people don't want to get driven out to other places. Like, if you're renting here, that you're in the worst position, basically, because if you're renting and your homeowner decides to sell his house, you're pretty much getting the boot, right? And now you have to rent a house in the area if you can afford it, and if not, you have to leave the community and go rent somewhere where you can afford it.
What shocks me is the fact that there are still so many cities out there that have not experienced gentrification, you know?
Yeah.
I feel that gentrification always tends to start where like major cities, like LA's becoming a major city.
I'm more shocked that it took so long for this place to diversify.
Yeah, man.
Because it's Los Angeles, man.
It's big.
Like, if you just cross that bridge and you go into downtown, it's an entirely different world.
Yeah.
It's different races there. You're gonna see everything. You're gonna see people even from out of the country, like people from Russia, people just, you know, touring, you know, going around the city.
Yeah, the example you gave of Manhattan, like, it gentrified pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Cities like Miami, where it was mostly a Cuban, Puerto Rican majority, is very diversified.
Yeah.
But LA, I feel it's one of the biggest cities in the world.
New York, Los Angeles, Miami. 3 main cities in the United States.
And the fact that this is just occurring now, it's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why did it take so long? But, you know, change is good.
The thing is that for me and you, it's a strange time because we were born into this. You know, we were born into the community where it's like all Hispanic. So all our lives we thought that this is what the world is. We live in our community. It's all Hispanic. You know that there's other cultures out there somewhere outside of your community, but not in your community. You know,
Yeah.
and so you grow up with this mindset that this is how it's supposed to be here. You know.
Yeah, if you think about it, we're living in such a crazy time, you know? We were born into such a crazy time where a lot of values are considered controversial. Even day-to-day life is changing overall. Everything is changing on every platform. And the fact that we're here on the right is crazy.
We're on YouTube. You know, it's like there's someone out there that's gonna be watching this on their phone. You know.
Yeah.
It's like it's a way different world than it was just 100 years ago.
Even 15 years ago.
15 years ago, man. I grew up where you still didn't have a phone at all times. You know.
Shit advances quick, and not just in terms of technology, but overall well-being and overall perspective. It's just crazy, man.
Man, you have to look up that Neuralink thing, the thing about that Elon Musk was proposing. So basically, what it is like it's this injection that you get in your neck, and that's gonna connect you somehow to like the World Wide Web and like the internet, and you're gonna have like Wi-Fi built inside of you. It's a strange concept, but I mean, I don't think that it's impossible, man. I feel like it is gonna come pretty fast.
Yeah, I feel that's very possible, especially after hearing today's podcast with the individual who was speaking about climate change, and he was saying that by 2050 there will be a lot of cities around the world that will be inhabitable. For instance, cities in the Middle East, they're gonna be at 130 degrees, making life impossible there. Like that's just crazy. In a matter of 30 years,
New York's gonna be underwater. Places in
30 years, man. Think about it. We're 20 right now. We'll be 50 when we're seeing all this shit go down. If we're able to see this shit go down. That's crazy. I can't imagine a world like that.
Mother Nature is ultimately the one that's in charge here. And that's why the one thing that I really side with the left is that we have to do something about climate change, because we're definitely affecting the way we're leaving our carbon footprint on this earth.
Yeah, man. And as I've mentioned in the past podcast, nobody is strictly conservative, or myself, I'm not strictly conservative or strictly liberal or strictly Democrat or strictly Republican. Like, when it comes to matters of climate change, the conservative view is that it doesn't exist.
That's some bullshit.
How the fuck doesn't it exist?
I know.
When it comes to that matter, I side with the left. You know, it does exist, and I feel we need to do something about it.
It's because ideologies, all these ideas are categorized into two sides, and that's very disadvantageous, because now you're not able to decipher what's actually true. So my advice to everyone out there is, do your own research, do your own investigation, listen to both sides, and decipher what's actually true and what you want to believe.
Yeah, that's what's cool about politics. I feel that you're given information, and it just comes down to you, and you determine the way you interpret that information and the views you choose to follow, you know?
Yeah.
So if you feel that you side more with the left on certain topics, that's perfectly fine. If you feel you sided with the right, conservative, although it is this perception of the right is bad, just know that it's okay too, you know?
Yeah. I think people need to really, really hear that, because when, like I said previously, like the word conservative, the word Republican, that's always given a negative connotation. That's always given this bigotry, this racist kind of connotation to the word, you know. And it's definitely more than just that, you know. You're doing a whole disservice to those ideas by just categorizing them as that instead of doing your own research.
A lot of people, you'll see this on Twitter or on Instagram, saying that high schools should really have a class where they teach you financial education. Like, they should show you how to do your taxes and shit. I feel that high school should also have a class that shows you and breaks down the spectrum of politics.
That's a good ass idea.
It's because people are so focused on money, but don't realize the influence that politics has on that.
Yeah.
For instance, the setting of the minimum wage or the setting of taxes. People should really become informed of what's out there, you know? Politics affects your day-to-day lives, as we've mentioned before.
It does.
So it should be implemented at the high school level. And because honestly, man, when we were in high school, I didn't feel we were educated at all when it came down to this.
And we were in government, we were in like the politics classes, and it's like,
I'd say we were pretty ignorant in our high school years, but we sought this knowledge, and now we're here, and we hope you guys are able to change your overall perception of politics. You know, it's not just this straightforward thing. You could really side, you know, take different routes at some point.
Yeah, don't pick a team, man.
Yeah, it's not about that. When if you put politics in that under that mentality, then it becomes more competition than this fight for democracy or unity as a country, you know?
Yeah, Plato had this one. He wrote about this whole thing that democracy is detrimental to society because it's basically the rich educated people versus the poor uneducated. And that causes a civil strife, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it rings true even today. I mean, Plato he's been dead for a long-ass time. And those words still ring true in the 21st century.
And then what's crazy about that statement is that democracy hadn't fully unveiled or developed. It wasn't at its full potential, basically, you know? At the time of Plato, I think they were still in city-states and shit. Yeah. So being able to perceive democracy in a manner that is as much that's more full scale, you know, bigger than city-states, is just crazy. Democracy involves a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. Democracy is people.
Demos is, I think, a Greek word for people, and krasi is, what is it? I forgot. But demos is like a Greek word. It's got a Greek derivative.
Hashtag roots.
Hashtag roots. But so they put a gender neutral restroom in Roosevelt High School. What do you think about that? Have you ever been inside a gender neutral restroom?
I haven't.
Man,
I almost went inside.
I got a story about that. So one time I was at the student union at Cal State LA, and I had to go to the bathroom so bad, you know, and I was racing to find a restroom. I couldn't find one, and I found one on the second floor of the student union, and I just rushed in. And I saw when I walked in, I saw urinals, so I thought automatically, you know, this is a guy's restroom. Yeah. So I went to the stalls, and like a couple moments later, a woman walks in, and I'm like, oh shit. And I could tell it was a woman because I could hear the heels, you know, like clacking on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, clack, clack. And I was just like, oh fuck, this is weird. I'm about to be in something I've never been a part of, you know. It's like I was freaking out, man. I had to leave, you know, and I was so embarrassed. I hurried up. I got there. I washed my hands, and I just dipped. I mean, it's crazy. Like I grew up like always going to just like the guys' restrooms, and when I entered a gender neutral restroom, I felt really, really weird, you know?
Yeah. Like, I feel we could connect this experience back to when we first started college and how we weren't used to that culture, you know?
Yeah.
But the reality is that this whole implementation of gender neutral restrooms is part of today's culture, you know? And we have to become adapt to it. But the main argument towards them setting gender neutral restrooms in the Boyle Heights area is to make people feel comfortable or those in the area feel as if the school is caring for their needs, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't really see how setting these restrooms is going to limit or reduce the levels of bullying, because let's say there's a student out there who does consider himself part of the LGBTQ or whatever community, and he hasn't come out yet, and people see him going into one of these restrooms, they're going to automatically assume that, oh, this fool, he's, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just going to bring more bullying towards him.
The thing about bullying is, I mean, I feel like even that's slowly dying away. If you're a bully now, in today's day and age, you're an asshole, you know? I don't know how it was back in the day, but, I mean, there was a lot of, like, movements towards eliminating bullying, and then that one movie came out, Bully, and, I mean, my whole grade went on a field trip to just go watch that movie, just to raise awareness against bullying. Bullying itself is slowly starting to die down. It's definitely not, like, eradicated.
How it used to be, you know? Like, the levels of bullying back in the day were much higher than they are today.
I'm pretty sure, man. Because
and then with social media also setting up regulations and rules that are against bullying and harassment, I could see why those levels are declining as we progress, you know?
yeah.
But we do have freedom of speech.
Freedom of
and
speech.
hate speech is still considered freedom of speech.
Yeah, there's actually a movement going on to eliminate free speech. Like, they're trying to get rid of it.
It's like, by free speech, we don't just mean happy, you know?
No,
like,
yeah.
complimenting each other. Part of free speech is also talking shit to one another.
Yeah. That's why me and you are able to get on this platform right now, because we have the freedom of speech. We could put this out there. No one's going to tell us shit.
God bless America.
God bless America. And it's crazy because not every country in the world has this today.
Yeah.
And it's almost, it's crazy how we even managed to achieve free speech in a society has long been ruled by a certain clergy or a group, a monarch, you know? It's crazy how we even got to this level of free speech.
But even then, we do have the right to free speech, but people are fighting to eliminate harassing and bullying on social platforms or in day-to-day life. But a result from eliminating that and putting up barriers towards that sort of speech is also a reduction of free speech, which is our constitution.
You know where
right.
I saw that most obvious? And it's it's funny because, well, let me tell you, I was playing my PS4, right?
Yeah.
And my little brother, I was basically playing Fortnite on his profile, right? And I was like, and it was my first time playing it, and I was like, hey man, how does this whole shit, like, where's everybody at? You know, when you're right about to go into the game, like, you're on that little, it's like a chat room, but it's only with you and your friends.
Oh yeah.
Back then, when you enter the chat room, it was
oh man.
If anyone out there has ever played video games in the past, you know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to say anything.
The level of shit talking. Oh lord, man.
Those chat rooms were a war in itself. Like, if you were playing Call of Duty, the real war wasn't in the game or the gameplay. It was at these chat rooms when
it became bigger than the game, man.
You were forced to talk to a person from somewhere in Alabama, you know, and they were talking shit to you, and you were talking shit to them. And now,
beautiful times, man.
and now, in games like Fortnite, because of this whole bullying thing, this whole limiting the free speech, now you're able to and not just able, but you're forced to just be in a room with your friends.
That's cool though, you know? Like, if you don't want to be talking to other people, you just want to be with your homies playing, you know, that's cool.
It's cool, but like, it's just, it doesn't give you what that did more than anything, those chat rooms, was it gave me a perspective of what people are really like.
Yeah, it gave you that exposure.
Yeah,
you know?
like, when you're walking around down the street, no one's ever gonna be that rude to you.
No.
But when you're in these chat rooms, it's crazy, man. It's like people say whatever's on their mind.
It exposes you to a form of human that you won't really experience in person, because nobody's gonna come up to you and tell you, oh, you fucking suck, out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's crazy how, I mean, it kind of ties back to what we were saying about how the circles are getting smaller. For instance, if you side with a certain idea you could just stay within your circle, and you could do that in the video game too. If you don't want to be hearing other people or be exposed to other people, you could just stay in your circle.
You should have the choice, though.
Yeah, but I feel that people should really start going out there, you know?
Yeah.
Moving away from just their circle and trying to, even if these people don't side with you or whatever, if you're in conflict with certain people, just try to talk it out. And
Yeah, you know what's crazy?
yeah,
That not that long ago, people were the only way you could communicate with another person was like human to human interaction. Like people would meet each other at bars, you know, and this is how you'd start dating a person, or like you'd go out and like, you know, you'd meet someone at a bus stop or whatever, and you just start talking to the person, you know. And now it's like you got all these apps that you could just communicate with anybody just on your phone, you know. You don't have to go meet the person. Like it's why people like apps like Tinder are so popular, man, because we're avoiding that social awkwardness that comes with asking a person out, you know.
yeah.
We're just clicking a button, boom, we're out here dating.
What's crazy too is that the other day I was listening to this old school sad Mexican song.
What's it called?
It's called Los Sufrimientos by Saul Vieira, and I remember growing up and seeing the older men so down when this song came up. Like it brings tears to their eyes.
Yeah, man.
And I'd be like, why? You know?
Yeah.
But and I had this thought like a couple of days ago. I started thinking, these guys grew up in a time where social media didn't exist. So if you lose communication with a certain individual and you don't keep it, they're lost forever, man. Like if you had a girlfriend, you guys break up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you could just block each other but then find each other again on social media. No, you guys would break up. There's no social media. You break up, you stop talking. You guys don't know where the fuck you guys are at.
Yeah, like, have you ever got into an argument where you're like, it's over? Like 30 minutes later after you drive home, you're just like, you know what? I kind of fucked up. I gotta hit him back up. You don't have that. Back then, man, people didn't have that option. Just imagine all the people that went home and just changed their mind and were like, shit, I shouldn't have
drive back to the house. You know,
drive back to the house. And you gotta apologize to the parents. You know what? I messed up with your daughter. I know what you just saw, but trust me, it's more than that. But now it's like, you hit them up back with a text. Hey, my bad.
Yeah, and you talk it out through the phone. You know, you can FaceTime them if you want.
Back then, there had to be more heartbreaks back then.
Do you feel that? You know how we're speaking about the impact of technology on everyday people, like the fact that they grew up enduring certain circumstances and we grew up enduring these circumstances. Do you feel that they affect the development of character? Do you feel that they possess a more strengthened character due to the fact that they didn't live in the time that we're living in today, a time that's more connected and a time where you could basically just, as I was saying, keep yourself in whatever circle you wish to keep yourself?
I have no idea. I have no idea, man.
Because older people tend to side with more conservative views.
That's true.
Younger people tend to side with more leftist views.
And you think that's because those people back then had that human-to-human interaction, or?
Yeah, like just the way that they were brought up overall, the state of the country, the state of everyday life was just different, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel that we can't lose these core values. Like as time progresses, new values are adopted, but
new norms.
New norms especially, but I feel that at the core we must keep some things the same.
Yeah. Because
core values.
I mean,
core norms.
Like I said, when you have these platforms like Twitter that pretty much amplify free speech, I mean, you're getting the worst out of people because they could just pretty much type in whatever they want on their phones and not have to deal with the consequences of looking at a person when they see the reaction to those things, you know? Back then, if you said if you said mean things, you had to tell it to a person in front of their face.
Yeah,
you know?
And you wouldn't know how that person would react.
Yeah, so like let's say for example, you say something that's harsh against someone that's in the left. I mean, back then you had to look at them and see the reaction to those things, you know? And that would probably affect the way you hold yourself together, the things you say later on in life, you know? It'd probably change your mind if anything. But now, since people are able to just do their own or speak their mind from just their phones, and it's eliminating that human to human interaction.
Exactly. I feel that's what's crucial for overall democracy, you know?
Yeah.
And this whole topic of technology just has me thinking about Black Mirror.
You watched it?
I watched
Oh,
3 episodes,
man, that's chill. For the people back home, off the studio, off the cameras, I was telling this guy to watch Black Mirror, and he was giving me this skeptical look, like, I don't know about this shit.
I didn't know what that was, man.
Man, I told you it's good. Which ones did you watch?
Well, I clicked on season 1, and it has 3 videos. So
Yeah.
the first one is the one of the politician who's forced to...
Oh, man, you watched the worst one.
Okay, so I watched that one, and then I watched the one where the people are on the bikes. And
Oh, that's
they
fucked.
get
That one's really... that one got me fucked up.
And then the final episode from the first season was where you could record what you see and then play it back
I
afterwards.
told you about that one.
That one tripped me
Yeah,
out.
when the guy was... when the woman was cheating on her guy,
Yeah,
and the guy just at the end just dug into his whatever the...
and he took it out.
Yeah, he just took it out. I was like, oh, you felt that, you know?
And what tripped me out was they had a dinner scene where they had a guest over who had removed it,
Yeah.
and she was seen as the radical. Like, really? You removed it? How are you living like this? Like, it's
Yeah.
so crazy, you know?
And the thing is that when you're watching that show, you're so far removed from the fact that it's just a show. Like, when you're looking at the thing, they make it look like it's just a normal day-to-day thing, you know?
Yeah.
So it gives you that realistic feel. It's definitely got an element of realism, you know, that show.
Yeah, I feel that it also gives me a sense of, like, holy fuck, this could actually come into
This
play.
could actually come into fruition.
And this is achievable, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't imagine a world like this, but if it does come to be, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, man.
Black
yeah,
Mirror's
but I
cool.
haven't really watched any more episodes.
Why not, man?
School, man, I gotta...
Yeah, I understand.
Gotta watch other shit,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. But Black Mirror is really good, man. If you go into it, you're gonna finish all the seasons in 2 days.
Yeah.
I watched it over the summer when I wasn't really doing anything.
You
Hey.
watched this during the summer?
Yeah,
Fuck.
I watched
And
it.
I just started watching it, man. That's crazy.
I'd go to work, I'd come back, just put my feet up, and then just watch Black Mirror. That was my routine in the summer. I was like on the whole Black Mirror thing, you know. And then when I ran out of episodes, I was like, now what? And then they
You
came out
ran
with a
out of
movie,
episodes?
huh?
You ran out of episodes already? You watched everything?
Everything. They put out a movie. I watched it.
A movie?
Yeah.
That deals with what?
Well, the movie it has this like new system. I don't know how they did it, but basically, the viewer is able to control what happens in the movie. So they control the actions of one of the characters in the movie, the protagonist, and so you're able to basically make the movie what you want it to be.
Man, that sounds some Elon Musk.
Like, it was weird because there was this moment where he broke the fourth wall, and he's just like he's on his computer, and he's like, oh wow, I feel like someone's controlling me. And then you type in on the computer like, oh, I'm watching you through Netflix, and he's like, what's Netflix? Because this is in the 80s, so like it kind of makes it look like someone from the future's talking to him, and he can't explain this to his dad. He's like, someone from the future is controlling me through Netflix. And it's like it just, I watched it, like, bro, I was just like tripping out. I was like, what the hell is this?
The fourth wall.
Yeah, the fourth wall.
Shout out Shields.
Shields.
He's out there, man.
Hey
He's
man,
still out
is
there
he
teaching.
still teaching?
I think so.
We were the best actors in his class.
Facts.
Facts.
He knew that.
He knew that. He's like, guys,
Come on.
come
you know?
on. Yeah.
We'd be boxing in
Yeah.
his class.
Remember when we did that one thing where you were wrapping my hands like as if I was gonna go box?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, speaking of boxing, tomorrow
Tomorrow.
we have a very special guest tomorrow. We're talking about boxing with multi-state champion and multinational runner-up Adrian. What's his last name, man?
Alvarado.
Man. Like, I don't know why I lost it, but
Yeah.
Adrian Alvarado. He's definitely up and coming here in Boyle Heights. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, he's going to be on here, you know, telling us his story, speaking on the experience of being a boxer, maybe taking it to the pro level, you know? That's crazy. That's cool, man. Boyle Heights.
Boyle
We're coming
Heights.
up. We're
Yeah.
coming up. You know?
I mean, Oscar De La Hoya, he was from this whole area too, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we refer to Boyle Heights, we're not just focusing on Boyle Heights, like the whole LA, you know?
Yeah.
But we grew up here, you know, in the area, so it's cool to see someone like that working and grinding.
Yeah, man,
It's
that's
cool.
taking his career seriously. He's trying to build a pathway towards success in boxing. I mean, I mean, I did MMA for a good while, you know, and
Yeah.
I had to let it go because of college. So I mean, I was basically giving a choice, like, should I continue just down this path of training until I go pro and, you know, give my best shot at it, or should I just go to college and just focus on something that's more solid, something that's definitely going to provide me some source of income in the future, you know? And I had to make the best choice, and I just chose college.
Yeah, man. I've never been involved in a combat sport, but I am aware of how demanding it is, man.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I from hearing what you told me,
it taxes the body, man. It taxes the body. It taxes your mentality, especially, you know, you're always in that fight mentality. You're never in the flight mentality. You're always, I'm ready to go, you know? You're always ready to fight. You're always in that mentality, like, kill or be killed, you know? Like, you're always there. Even when you're in school, you're just thinking about how you could improve yourself later when you're at the gym. And that kind of stuff, it takes away from you a little bit when you're trying to study for a midterm, or when you're, you know, really stressed out because of school.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier, how being a pro athlete does not just entail being good physically. It entails having a strong, able mentality to calm yourself and focus on what you're doing. So we're going to get him in here tomorrow and pick at him and see what he could tell us, you know?
Yeah, man. I feel like this is going to be really beneficial for both me. I mean, for the podcast and for him, because this is going to be. He's about to go.
The listeners, man.
Yeah, he's about to go pro. So I mean, this is basically his first. It's the first time he's promoting himself, you know, to be out there as a pro fighter. So I mean, definitely looking forward to that. Did you hear about that whole thing about the Momo thing?
Oh yeah,
that's just in the back of my head this whole time. Like, what do you think of all that, man?
I don't get it though. It's this Momo thing is it comes up in kids' videos, like they edit it in,
so supposedly,
or is it like third-party videos who take the video from the actual platform and then edit this in?
Supposedly it was a hoax.
Hoax?
Yeah, but I'm not sure, because I looked it up on Wikipedia earlier. Supposedly it was a hoax. I think I have the thing right here. I don't know. No, I don't. But yeah, supposedly it's a hoax. That I don't know. But the whole thing, it's just, if anything, this kind of just shows you how potentially harmful a site like YouTube could be for younger audiences. You know, because back then, I mean, you had to rely on like bigger networks like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network to filter out all the bullshit. You know, and put only the stuff that is kid friendly. You know. And now anyone could upload anything on YouTube. So anyone could put something out there that makes it look like it's for kids, and then it's not. And I definitely noticed that with my smallest brother. He's like 7 years old, right? And he was watching this one video. I think he had to do something with like Spider-Man. But I kept hearing like curse words. I'm like, what are you watching? And he's like, I'm watching Spider-Man. And I'm like, why the fuck are they cursing, you know?
Yeah, man. People really have to be careful with the content that their children are consuming.
Yeah.
Because this then reflects in their overall personal character, and in school, like, you'll hear about kids acting up and the parents don't know why. Yeah. I mean, you should really check what your kid is watching on YouTube. It's hard
to monitor what's going on with what your kid's watching, because you have to keep up with the technology. First of all, you have to know what apps they're using. If they're not using YouTube, they're probably using something else, you know. And they have to keep up with like their history and check what they've been watching and decipher whether what they're watching is actually good or not, or like bad for them or not. And it's just harder. But back then it was much easier because
there's so much access to information and kids nowadays they really know how to access that, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And for parents, especially older parents who are not that inclined towards knowing how to use technology, it could be tough, you know?
Yeah, very tough for those kinds of parents that just don't want to deal with like smartphones or like social media or anything like that. Like, it's even harder for them to monitor their children, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, back then you'd rely on these big networks to filter out the stuff that's not kid friendly, you know? And those companies, those corporations, I mean, their reputation was at stake if anything like that got through, you know? So they had to really protect what they were putting out there. Now, if you post something on YouTube that's aimed, whose target audience is for children, but it's definitely not child friendly, then it could be very detrimental to the kid, you know? And those YouTubers have nothing to lose.
Yeah, but overall, I feel this Momo thing, even if it was a hoax, it really opened the eyes of many parents.
I mean, people got scared, dude.
Yeah, it really, like, pushed many parents to really consider what content their kids are consuming, you know? There's so much shit out there that you don't know, but like I said, even if this was a hoax, the benefit that we could take from it is a lot of people became aware, you know?
Yeah, people got scared, man. People were posting, people were like retweeting, people were, you know, putting this out there, like to be aware of this whole thing that was going on. And I was like, oh shit, what is this, you know? It quickly became a meme though.
Yeah, but the way it was marketed at first, though, it really caught people's attention.
Yeah, man, people were like...
The fact that it had, like, this hypnosis-type background, and then this face comes out, and it's telling you, oh, it's Momo, you know, go get the sharpest object and cut. Like, that's just fucking creepy, you know? And kids who are easily influenced, especially younger kids, seeing this and basically being hypnotized, that's just scary, man.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's your kid, you know, and they're telling, oh, you know, get the parents. And it's like, that's scary. If you're a parent, the last thing you want is for something like that to happen, because those kinds of things have happened in history, you know?
Yeah.
It's
but it's a meme now?
It's a meme now. They're making, like, memes that... It's just dumb. Like, it's crazy how fast something so serious could turn into something like a meme.
Yeah.
Anything that could happen in politics could basically be turned into a meme if it's serious enough.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been discussing that in my class for democracy, the concept of fake news and the benefits and the side effects from fake news. But I feel that the fact that people are out here trying to truly figure out what's real and what's not is good, you know? Like, we were able to debunk, well, not we, but people were able to debunk this Momo shit pretty fast.
Yeah.
But we were still able to benefit from it since people became aware of the threats that are out there towards their children. So yeah, it's cool.
It's a weird time, man. There's these threats coming into social media, and then all this mass confusion because of social media too, with the political spectrum, and it's a weird time that we're living in. We don't, oftentimes when we're going by our day-to-day lives, we don't think of our place in history, you know? And when we go into history classes, we're kind of so far removed away from history that we don't think that those kinds of things actually happen, you know? We think of it more as a story, you know? The thing is that our time is also going to be documented in a history book someday. And they're going to look back, and they're going to be so far removed, but for us, it's what we live today, you know? It's crazy that when we don't consider our place in history, and our place in history is basically going to say this was a time of polarization, political divide, vast new technologies that amplified speech and caused this disarray in politics.
I feel you could also add the access to manipulate.
Yeah.
The fact that people could have access to technology and use it in whatever way they wish is just crazy. For instance, the whole thing with the Russians and the Trump election. Like, Russians were able to influence a United States election? How? When have you heard of this before? Today, man. Social media is so prominent that they were able to manipulate it and use it towards their advantage. What do you know about this, though?
I don't know
like
anything
this whole
about
connection between Trump and Russia. There seems to be a connection. And
yeah, they have like a good friendship, Russia and the Russians. I know that.
Yeah.
Like, they keep it cool, but I don't know the whole thing.
There's some benefits to that, though. Economic benefits. Like, they were saying that Trump wanted to build a tower in Moscow or something. And I don't know. It's just a bunch of shit.
I don't know. People say, oh, Trump is stupid. Trump is this and that. Trump is not stupid. He may say fucking dumb shit, but, like, he's a business mogul, you know?
Business savvy, man.
I mean, business savvy. I mean, not the way he's not savvy the way he uses words, but I mean, he's definitely someone that's competent to be a business mogul.
Overall, we could categorize him as savvy. The fact that he was able to reach the highest politics.
Dude, he was God bless.
Bugatti.
The fact that he was able to reach the highest office in the nation, even though he was on a reality TV show, and he did all he had the whole shtick, you're fired, you know? Did you watch the show?
Man, we are going to be, well, not us, but the students of the future are going to be studying Trump and the way that he was able to reach that position. It's like we still study Hitler, you know?
Yeah.
Hitler is considered a mastermind. Even though he did so much harmful and degrading and humiliating shit that no one agrees with, people still study his overall blueprint, you know, how he was able to mobilize so many people, mobilize a whole country towards hating one group.
Yeah.
Like, people who study power and shit like that, they respect Hitler for that, not necessarily for what he did, but for the fact that he was able to have all that come to be, you know?
Yeah.
The same thing's gonna be with Donald Trump. Even now, my political professors refer to him, they say things like, yeah, I don't agree with what he did, but I do respect his overall blueprint and the way that he was able to do what he wanted and accomplish what he wanted. That's just crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
How long has that been already? Is that an hour?
Has it?
I don't know. Man, I keep forgetting to set up a timer.
Well, anyways, tomorrow, Adrian,
the boxer, man, is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be me. You're gonna be here, right?
I'm gonna be here.
You're gonna be here. Adrian's gonna be right there. We're gonna be talking about it. So that's a wrap for today, guys. The Nest episode number 5. If you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys also like the video, and if you guys have a suggestion, or you guys want to bring someone on the podcast that you want to see, leave that in the comment section below, or DM me or Damian, you know.
Yeah, share it with your friends, man, you know.
I put it out there, put the word out there that Boyle Heights, East LA, Los Angeles, now it has its own podcast. That we're basically the mediators for our voices here in Boyle Heights. So make sure you guys keep up with the channel, subscribe, like, share the channel, and you know, stay chill. See you guys next time.